For more on this, we're joined by Omar Samad, who's the former Afghan ambassador to Canada. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Samad. How effective do you think this council meeting can be if the Taliban is refusing to talk directly to the government in Kabul?
Well, this jirga has been set up mostly by the government. It's in order for these delegates who have been chosen by the government, and there has been sort of a process to go to the localities and find people to attend this jirga who can endorse a plan or provide some viewpoints and some input to the government. But it's a very controversial jirga. There are many politicians, very well-known, powerful people who are opposed to this. They think that the timing is not right, the content is not right, the subject matter is off base at this point, that there should be more focus on the peace with the Taliban itself, that process, but that this jirga can be either divisive or can be unhelpful. But we will see what happens. It's too early to tell because it will last for another 2-3 days at least, depending on how it goes, and we will see what the result will be. But of course, meanwhile, the fighting goes on. The Taliban are going to continue most probably to talk to the Americans. The Americans are waiting for Kabul politicians, including the government, to come up with some consensus on how to move the process forward and to have a team that can go and talk to the Taliban and make sure that there's an intra-Afghan process that starts that could probably at some point lead to a ceasefire and more negotiations on a political roadmap.
Talking about an intra-Afghan process, the US envoy to the conference, as we're talking about, Zalmay Khalilzad, says that the country has struggled to get all parts of Afghan society on board with a future plan for peace. Why do you think that is?
Well, it's difficult. You know, Afghanistan has been at war for 40 years. The last 25 years, the Taliban have been involved. In the last 20 years, the Americans have been involved. And so it's not an easy process, obviously. But there are also a lot of political interest groups that are playing their own games. And I think that what has to happen is that we need to have a process that is more inclusive, that is more representative, that creates a level playing field for everyone, and that is not being either manipulated by one side or the other, and has some clear agenda and clear purpose. This has been lacking for a while. There was an expectation that the government would be able to play that role, but many people don't trust it. There's a trust deficit issue. And so I think that time is running out at the same time. And so they have to put some short-sighted politics aside and look at the longer vision and what is possible, because there's an opportunity right now to maybe hopefully move towards a peaceful settlement of the Afghan process, but it has to be one that is responsible. It has to be one that reflects the aspirations of the Afghan people and does not obviously undermine the major gains of the last 20 years or so.
And just finally, the chairmanship of the council has been given to Abdul Rasul Saif, who has past links to Osama bin Laden. What do you make of that decision?
Well, it was a compromise decision. I think the president wanted someone with stature to lead this conference. Many others bowed out and they did not participate or did not approve with how this jirga was put together. And so Mr. Saif has always tried to play a mediator's role, a middle-of-the-road role, and I think that he decided to do so. But still, we're at the very beginning of this jirga. As I said, it will last for a few more days. We do not know how the procedures will be carried out. There is an agenda. We do not know what the government's intentions are and how it will use the consultation that will be given, whether it will be very politicized or less politicized, and whether it will help the peace process or not. Those things will be determined in the next 3-4 days, and the role of people like Mr. Saif will be somewhat critical.
Thank you for that. Always good to get your analysis. That is Omar Samad, the former Afghan ambassador to Canada. Thank you.